Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaskar everyone and welcome to our 13th session on how to study the Bhagavad Gita. Today we will cover the 10th chapter, which is a Vibhuti Yoga. So Nilesh, the ninth chapter ended with the shlok Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. So Krishna says, pray me, I am everywhere, come to me is basically what he ended with. And from what I understand in Vibhuti Yoga, he's saying, I'm everywhere, with shloks like, I am the Vishnu in the Aditya, I am the Shankar in the Rudra, I am the Himalaya, I am in the Ganga, so on and so forth. So, can you summarize what is this Vibhuti Yoga and why is he saying that I am in everything, in every creation? And also with an emphasis on the meaning of the word Vibhuti.
Okay. So we are in the chapter 10. It's called Vibhuti Yoga. In a simple way, Bhuta is like think of that as an entity, it's a presence entity, and we in the sense of a Vishesha. So think of this as a Vishesha entity. And so Krishna is, for example, saying Yat Karosh Yadasnasi, like our previous chapter, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Raja Guya Yoga. Raja Vidya Yoga, whatever you want to call it, 9th chapter. And so there is saying, Krishna is saying, Yat Karoshi Yadasnasi, like through your Swadharma, like whatever you do, just do it in that Bhakti Bhava and offer it everything to me. Therefore, as you said, it ends with Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. So now Arjun is not directly asking the question, but Arjun is saying, okay, so if I have to do this as a Swadharma, everything that I am doing, I have to turn that activity. It's like a spiritualizing your acts, anything that you are doing, connect it. So are there any guidance? Is there any guidance so that it's easy for person to remember things? Which is like saying somebody is a child is learning a language, like how to write, for example. So where do we begin? Actually, that will come here, by the way. The what you call the Shad Vedangas, the 6 Vedangas. Actually, there is a discussion of it. I mean, the 6 Vedangas are used as a vibhuti here, and we will see that. But for example, shiksha, which is to say o, a, I, u, a, I, o, a, ka, kha, ga, gha, nya, cha, cha, ja, ja, ya. Like, that's the shiksha, like one of the 6 Vedangas. And then you, for example, learn Vyakaran. Then you learn Chanda. Okay. And then, I mean, you just, then you go like that, the Nirukta and then Jyotisha and then Kalpa, I mean, all those 6 Vedangas, just like we use. Similar, so we use that. Like, so how are you splitting it? That's what Arjun is asking. He's asking from the perspective of a bhakti, in the context of Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto or Yat Karoshi Adasnasi. And to that, Krishna is answering it. Okay. So this one is about a vibhuti, and we in the sense of a Vishesha, Bhuta in the sense of a entity. And again, just like we use the term in the Darshana Shastra, like Anuman or Upaman, when we use a Upaman, a simile, an analogy, a metaphor, we have to select in such a way that is known to a person. Otherwise, it will not be obvious what is being conveyed, right? So therefore, like a very prominent things are mentioned. These are individuals or these are things, like things in the nature. I mean, in the terrestrial, also celestial, and
Yes.
also you can say individual. So that is what this chapter is about.
So that's true. And also, maybe at a subtle level, Krishna is saying, learn to appreciate everything because I am everywhere. So, but when he says, I am in the Himalaya, I am in the Ganga, I am the Nakshatranam, Aham Shashi. So, we know that Bhagavad Gita is widely appreciated throughout the world. Okay. So, of course, Indians can immediately relate to Himalaya, Ganga, the Chandra, Shashi, or Nakshatra. But how can a Westerner relate to these concepts? So, in terms of space, how does this Vibhuti Yoga pan out?
Ah, correct. So, I mean, so your question is Bhagavad Gita is considered a universal grantha, I mean, meant for everyone, irrespective, unlike, say, the religious text, right, which are meant to
Correct.
be for the followers of it, whereas this one is not limited by any boundaries, so to say.
It's a
But then,
philosophy, right? It's a philosophy that the entire world can deep dive into.
well, it's philosophy, but but the point rather should be it is a universal philosophy, because
Yes.
philosophy is there in everything. But if we are claiming this to be universal philosophy, then the question is, how come this is universal if we are going to mention very specific things, such as among the rivers, which is what you find in the 10th chapter. Among the rivers, I am Jahnavi, as in Ganga, or Pandavanam Dhananjaya, right? Or Sthavaranam Himalaya. Among the steady things, I am Himalaya. The outsiders now they may know, but say going back 7,500 plus years, if you think of a contemporary things of the Mahabharata times, then somebody in North America wouldn't have known about Himalaya. I mean, that's possible. So how, or someone in India wouldn't have known about Alps and Andes and the Rockies. And how do you do it, right? Or our river Chattahoochee, or do we need to, we living in Atlanta, do we have to only think of Ganga? Now we may do it because we know Ganga, or is it okay that we can think of, meditate on river Chattahoochee, right? Those are the questions. Now, here, what Krishna is saying, even in if you want to say the physical context, because remember, again, Mahabharata is what? Purvavrittam Kathayuktam Itihasam Prachakshate. It's an itihasa text. So, therefore, itihasic references will come, and that they have come. And this chapter is a good one to discuss. But let me take you back in terms of the celestial, in terms of terrestrial, but also, I mean, not just celestial vibhutis, not just terrestrial vibhutis, but also the vibhutis that are fixed in space, but also fixed in time. And that is your question in a way. So if I will talk about the celestial first, okay, that kind of would be universal, at least in the northern hemisphere at that time. Somebody may think that whatever is discussed celestial is not like related to itihasa. Okay. Let me take a specific Vibhuti verse from the 10th chapter. I mean, that's my favorite, but there are many other that are also favorite in this chapter. Adityanam Maham Vishnu Jyotisham Ravi Anshuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatrana Maham Shashi. And this may seems like, okay, among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. And among the Jyotisha, as in like a bright objects, the Prakhara object, I am the Ravi, the bright Ravi is me. And Marichi, that has to do with, you can think of that as a water or moisture, that refers to, therefore, a rainy season, you can say. And Nakshatrana Maham Shashi. What I want to tell you is that, for example, this is why people who study not only Bhagavad Gita, but entire Mahabharata, and one must always remember that Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. And the definition of what Mahabharata is about, Grantham Granthi Tada Chakre Munir Gudam Kutuhalat. It is full of curiosities, full of mysterious things, and full of twists. So even this celestial description, among the Adityas, I am Vishnu, among the bright object like Jyotisha, I am the Ravi, as in sun. Among Marichi, Marutamasmi, which is like, you can say, among the water bodies or among the liquid things, I'm a Marichi, which is to say moisture, as in like rain, and Nakshatrana Maham Shashi, and among the nakshatras, I am Shashi. Even this particular verse, and I don't want to elaborate on that because the subject is Bhagavad Gita, but I cannot go beyond that because I want to say, even in this shlok, Ashwini, there is a time stamp. Okay, because this is a itihasa. We cannot forget at any time this is itihasa. There is a time stamp of the 6th millennium BCE on every of these 4 counts. So, for example, Adityana Maham Vishnu, and I'm not going to technical detail, but at the time of the Mahabharata, like the 6th millennium BCE, now that I know, now that we know from my research, that time, the first solar month of the new year is if you look at the 12 Adityas, those are the solar months. It is the month, the first Aditya is a Vishnu, and it is that month, first month of Vishnu, which is what? Aditya, a son of a Aditi. Okay, all Adityas are also called Adityas, I mean all 12 sons, but Vishnu is the first one who is also known as the son of Aditi. And if you look at the astronomy situation that time, the first month of the solar year, which is the second month of Vasanta season, was indeed where the sun's position was in Punarvasu. And the Punarvasu's Devata is Aditi, and Aditi's son is Vishnu. So even to that extent it is given. Then if you look at these four things mentioned in this Vibhuti, that particular shloka, so that we got the Vishnu, but also think of it, that's a Vasanta Rutu. Okay. Then the next one, like a Prakhar, so actually Adityas are also described, there are 12 Adityas, but they're also described by, you can say, seasons. So for example, Saumya, Prakhara, Avrutta, and so on, So if you take Saumya, that is say Vasanta Rutu, then Prakhara is a Grishma Rutu, that is that son of, Jyotisham, Ravi, Anshuman. Marichi, as I said, it's a moisture that is referring to the rainy season. And after that, very beautiful, not many people understand it. Many people have actually wrongly translated this, is Nakshatrana Maham Shashi. Many people simply translate, and I don't blame them because anyone can easily fall into this trap. They will say Nakshatrana Maham Shashi, among the nakshatras, I am the moon. That is not at all the meaning of it. There are no ifs and buts. It is referring to, and I have given few lectures other places, I will not elaborate on that, where this is Nakshatrana Maham Shashi, where it is referred to that nakshatra by the nakshatra devata. And so Shashi or Soma or a Chandra is a nakshatra devata. Nakshatra devata of which nakshatra? Not from your astrology, by the way. Okay, this is from the astronomy, and the answer is the nakshatra, because then you have a graha there. Here the nakshatra devata of Mrugashirsha is a Soma or Shashi. So here the reference is to Mrugashirsha nakshatra. And what is happening here? We are starting from Vasanta Rutu, Grishma Rutu, then Varsha Rutu, and now we are coming to Sharada Rutu. Because at the time of Mahabharata war, Margashirsha month, the Sharad Rutu began with a month of Margashirsha. The reason I mention this is so much is packed into some, say, two lines. Okay, that is not very obvious. Okay, but I went too deep into it, but there is no shortcut, unfortunately, around it. And what was your second point? So this is, for example, you think of this as a timestamp. Okay, now this one you can say celestial, because of course in an Indian context astronomy is time, and this whole Bhagavad Gita 10.21 was astronomy. I mean, Adityana Mam Vishnum Jyotisham Ravi Anshuman Marichi Marutamasmi Nakshatrana Mam Shashi, full astronomy. It gave a timestamp 6th millennium BC period. And then you ask about some others, so I will go, I mean there is so much we can discuss, but just to shorten it, can you tell me what other things you mentioned?
So we are saying it's a universal philosophy. So in terms of geography also, like Himalaya, Ganga, how do we make it universal?
Okay, so correct. So now to understand this, because Krishna is telling it to Arjun, or when Vyasadeva is writing this, which audience Vyasadeva has in front of him or in his mind? Okay, and that audience is, you can say, of the broad Bharata Varsha.
Yes.
So therefore the analogies, vibhutis, metaphors, whatever is used is what is familiar to the residents of Bharata Varsha. However, to take this and transmit it to, say, Atlanta, okay, so here we would have the Appalachian Mountains or Yona Mountain, So somebody will say, like that Yona Mountain, or like a great river Chattahoochee. We should able to take this and transfer it and project it into the local things. In that context, there is a Chief Seattle or some other great native resident, or whatever the right word they use, native Indian, we can say, in America, who said when the white European whites were encroaching onto the native land, he said, you are doing it today, maybe it's your day today, maybe we are not in a position to fight with you. But then he says that it's to us that the mountain in the Dakota, is a sacred mountain for us. So it's a very beautiful word. Like you can see the reverberation and the resonance of a Bhagavad Gita. He says that's sacred mountain to us. And we consider that the center of the universe. Okay, so now it's a very specific, just like Krishna saying, Sthavaranam Himalaya, and among the rivers, I am Jahnavi. But then the chief Seattle or whoever, that other chief of one of the Native American groups, he says, but we also conceive a universe with a center also at the North Dakota mountain, but he says the center of the universe can be anywhere and circumference nowhere.
Okay. How
Meaning,
beautiful.
this is a concept that you have to spiritualize for your own circumstances, like a Swadharma. So
Yes.
he had that great concept. So you can take the Vibhuti Yoga of Bhagavad Gita, and you, if you are in Australia, you have to connect it with the things in Australia. If you are in America, you have to connect with the things in America. But one more point I want to mention before you can ask next question is like, if you go further, I mean, I have a Bhagavad Gita in front of me here. So if you go in the 10th chapter, the verse 35, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 9th chapter, we discuss about Vedas are related to Dhyana, Upanishad related to Jnana, and so on. Ramayana related to Niti, and so on and so forth. Those things, and Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata with the Karma, and Bhagavad Puran with the Bhakti, those all things actually come here too. But not to digress too much, I want to take another one because I mentioned a celestial timestamp. I want to mention something terrestrial. So, because it's a Itihasa text again, if you go to, and if you have that there, chapter 10, 35 verse, Brot Sama Tatha Samnam Gayatri Chanda Samaham. Remember, I mentioned 6 Vedangas. So we are talking about the Chanda, we are talking about the Nirukta, Vyakarana. So even the Vyakarana also, there is one word. It says, for example, Aksharanam Akarosmi, which is like that Shiksha. Okay. Dvandva Samasikasya cha. Okay. Meaning the Dvandva Samas, as in Vyakarana. Think of it. So the 6 Vedangas are mentioned there. In that context, Bruhat Sam Tatha Samna Gayatri Chanda Samaham. That is a Chanda, one of the 6 Vedangas. And then the next one, again, we already did it, but like a Jyotisha. Okay, so that is one of the Vedangas. In that context, Masanam Margashirshoyam Rutunam Kusumakara. I'll not take time here. I already mentioned that the Nakshatranam Mam Shashim is referring to Mrugashirsha Nakshatra, the month of Margashirsha that was coming at the Sharad season. The point is Masanam Margashirsham. Krishna is saying, in the context of the Mahabharata, his time there is saying, among the months, lunar months, Saumya Masa, I am Margashirsha. And the reason he's saying is for 2 reasons. It is the month that is Margashirsha that is occurring in the Sharad season. But we have a Mahabharata evidence that a calendar began with the month of Margashirsha and also the first month of Sharad season. So therefore, Masanam Margashirsha, that he's giving. And then if you follow after that, you will find the historical details of the Mahabharata times. Say, for example, Dyuta he's referring to. And then he says, Vrishninam Vasudeva. Among the Vrishnis, Vasudeva, like him, Krishna. Or Pandavanam Dhananjaya. Or Muni, among the Munis, I am the Vyasa. So he is taking the historical personalities of his time also.
Yes.
That is a sort of a terrestrial stamp. Okay, I talked a lot. I'll give.
No, I got it. Basically, in the context of the Mahabharata, he's taking these names or like Himalaya, Ganga, or Rudra, or Vishnu. But however, they do have a universal applicability wherever we are. And in fact, what came to my mind is that we saw Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. He's telling to Satata Satyatya Yoga, or keep on doing the sanskars. He's making it easy for us to do these sanskars because he's saying in everything it's me.
Yes.
So you worship anything and everything, it will come to me ultimately. Your prayers or your thoughts.
Yeah.
So he's actually making it easy for the bhakta to practice Satatam Kirtayanto Mam or Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, because whichever way you do, wherever you do, it's me.
Yeah. If you like a standard routine, hey, fine by me, patram
Yes.
pushpam phalam toyam. If you want a variety, here it is.
Here it is. Yeah.
Okay. You want to go climb the mountains, great. You want to go to the ocean, great. You want to walk on the bank of Ganga, or I mean
On
river,
me. Yeah. It's
right?
on me, he says. Yeah.
Right.
So wonderful. I mean, that is that's how one needs to understand it at
Yeah.
a deep level. And
Yeah.
I think we can end here because this is all about Vibhuti Yoga that we can take in
Correct.
this session, I think.
Correct. And
So,
so the only point I will mention is,
mhm,
see these, for example, Rigveda, there is a discussion, is there a itihasa in
mhm,
Rigveda?
mhm,
Okay. Now, Mahabharata itself is said as a itihasa, so there's no doubt about it. But we talk of aparoksha versus paroksha, like
mhm,
an indirect method versus a direct method.
mhm,
And usually you find, and Mahabharata says that, Grantham Granthi Tada Chakre Munir Gudam Kutualat, meaning in a way it's an indirect method. Okay, the information is not given in a very simple way. It happened on a Monday and then the person went on a Tuesday. That's because those details are not useful if there is a lot of time gap in between. So they have given, I mean, Vasudeva has given in such a way that in spite of a big lag in time from when it happened, one can in principle go back and able to know the social situation that time, the material, I mean, the celestial situation at that time, the terrestrial situation of that time, and try to able to combine it together, which is what is required to understand Vedas. But Mahabharata is called Pancham Veda. So even to understand Mahabharata, you need to have a knowledge of the six Vedangas, because Mahabharata is a Veda. It's a Pancham Veda. And this was just a sidebar, but we could see the celestial terrestrial descriptions that also gives you a timestamp right there. So for example, just one point there, I mean, many points, but I'll mention one point. At the time of Mahabharat war, there are enough descriptions of river Saraswati, like 200 plus descriptions of Saraswati in the Mahabharat. It is in a state of flux, many places it's flowing beautifully, but Vinashana has also occurred, meaning Saraswati has also disappeared in some place under the sand. Okay, so maybe that transition is also captured where among the rivers, otherwise Saraswati, as far as the Indian civilization goes, ancient civilization goes, Rigvedic civilization goes, it's the Saraswati. Nadi tame, Ambi tame, Devi tame, Saraswati. But how come we don't have that in the Vibhuti Yoga? He's saying among the rivers, I am Jahnavi, as in Ganga. Because Saraswati's status as a greatest river has already disappeared 7,500 years ago. Saraswati still exists, but Vinashan also exists. So through these celestial and terrestrial stamps, Vasudeva is encoding in a very, what you call say, indirect fashion, the situation of that time. I mean, this is something I find it fascinating because that's the area of my interest. Not everyone will find it fascinating, but therefore it is important to remember that when you are reading a shloka, whether in Bhagavad Gita or anywhere, it's important in our humbleness to realize that there are different layers to it, and how far we can go down is really based on our tapasya and a Vyasa Kripa. Back to you, and we can start.
and yeah, in your experience and in mine too, the same shlok you read again and again, you try to, it's like peeling the onion, you try to get more and more layers and deeper. Oh, and you get that aha feeling, like Uddharen Atman Atmanam, we can talk about that one shlok for hours, as to how it can affect our life and how do we
Correct.
apply that shlok.
Correct.
Yes, so we can end this session here. Thank you everyone. Dhanyavad. Jagdamba, Jagdamba, Jagdamba.